Some people have scars on the outside. Some people wear their scars on the inside. But every scar has a story. Every loss carries love, and every survivor holds a strength they may not realize they possess. Welcome to S.O.S. Stories of Survivors. Welcome back to S.O.S. Stories of Survivors. I'm your host, Serina Dansker. If you've listened to this podcast for a while, you know that we often talk about surviving life's greatest losses. We talk about grief, trauma, resilience, and what it means to keep putting one foot in front of the other. But today, we're exploring a different kind of survival, the way our bodies carry our stories. For years, I struggled with chronic hives. I searched for answers. I tried all different medications. I saw different doctors. While some treatments helped for a while, I never felt like anyone was asking the bigger question. Why was this happening? Over time, I began paying closer attention to my diet, my stress, my sleep, the emotional weight that I was carrying. I realized that healing wasn't about finding one miracle cure. It was about understanding how everything in our lives are connected. That experience changed me. And today's guest has spent his career helping people looking beyond symptoms to discover the deeper causes of illness and optimize their health. Christopher Gabriel is the founder of Life Science Performance, where he helps people improve their health through personalized strategies that combine science, lifestyle, nutrition, and performance. Christopher, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Serina. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I have so many questions, but I want to start with just talk about who you are growing up. You know, did you ever imagine that this would become your life's work?
Oh, did I imagine this would? No. I mean, there's no way I would have predicted that this is what I'd be doing exactly, or that I'd be in this, place in my life at this point. Early on in my life, I definitely always had a leaning towards healthcare and medicine. I mean, if you asked me from age 7 to my early 20s what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have told you I want to be a doctor. I wanted to be a surgeon. I had an obsession with the brain, and so I was like, okay, I'll be a neurosurgeon, right? But the more that I got exposed to the healthcare system. My father's a physician, and so I did a lot of work with him. And
Wow.
The more I saw sort of the gaps in the healthcare system, I realized that I wanted to work with clients in a very different way. I wanted to get to the root cause of issues, move people from, chronic care into really solving their problems, improving their lives and the quality of their lives overall.
Yeah, I get that. I know that a lot of times when we're young and we've got one vision in our heads that we idealize, like being a surgeon, was there some experience with the root cause that you talk about? Or I should say, maybe instead of simply treating symptoms, that you wanted to uncover really what was beneath everything.
Yeah.
What was that? What inspired that philosophy?
I think a couple things. Now, fundamentally, I love solving problems. This has been like a part of my life since I was like a little kid. It's been, it's a part, it's in my DNA. It's written in the code of me, right? Is looking for solutions to problems. And so at a very young age, I had family members, even my mother was dealing with health-related issues, and she'd probably be remiss if I say too much, but I think it should be fine for me to say that she battled Graves' disease, and was a very young kid, had no understanding of what this is. What is Graves' disease? Why is it called Graves? Which is, it sounds
terrible.
Dire,
Yeah.
right? Wondering if I was going to lose my mother or not. I think kind of inspired me to start looking for deeper solutions to some of these health-related problems that I knew people were facing, because it wasn't just her. There was like sort of a population of people that we knew that were dealing with either thyroid issues or Graves itself, and with no answers. No real solution. Other than surgically remove the thyroid or irradiate it.
Right.
And I was like, there must be another way, and there must be a reason why this is happening in the first place. And so I think it started really at home, the people closest to me, and then over the next decade or so, friends and other people that were close to me dealing with issues that Western medicine or modern medicine had not given them any answers to.
That's so interesting because as I was growing up, I had my own issues with my own health, as I've talked about, with hives and things like that. And I found that it's a journey that you have to advocate for yourself if you want to really uncover what's going on. I think your body talks to you.
Yes.
And one of the biggest lessons I learned is that, it starts out maybe as a whisper, like I would get these hives that were chronic, but more importantly, like all of a sudden I would have joints that would swell up, and my body started to get louder and louder. And it wasn't just, eating a strawberry that would cause the hives. Then it was suddenly if I had a piece of pizza or if I had a glass of red wine, or suddenly I was doing nothing but had a stressful day. And I think that your body is constantly communicating with you, and we have to stop and listen to it and advocate for ourselves if our doctors aren't able to ascertain what exactly is going on.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I've nothing. I fully support the healthcare system and physicians. They have challenging jobs, and a huge amount of work and time goes into becoming a doctor. But the fact is, the reality is that they have a limited set of tools to work with.
Yes.
Okay. And it's always based on their training. The reason why I took this direction is it allowed me to open up my education, my research, and the work that I was doing to start exploring all of these other, modalities, other areas of science, of biology, of physiology.
Yep.
So I could start putting all these pieces together. And what you said about advocating for yourself, yes, I mean, within the current system, you absolutely have to if you really want to get results. And that can be, the frustrating thing. It can be the energetic drain of, dealing with anything in the system, or dealing with a health issue that, is unresolved. And so it's been my life's goal, right, to, like I said, bridge this gap of what I call ongoing care. It's like everything that happens before you have to go to the doctor or the hospital, and everything that happens afterwards. And the model that I've developed in my private practice and how I work with clients is to act as like a hub of their health, right? And then coordinate the care from there. And so I'm the one that's interacting with their specialists, their GPs, their oncologists, whoever it might be, communicating and creating one unified source of truth for their health.
So you're like the quarterback. You everything comes through you, gets filtered through you, and so this way you can have a full picture of what is going on with your clients.
Correct, and best utilize these specialists that have very specialized tools, toolkits and specialized knowledge base. You want that, right? You want that part of that care system, but they need to be speaking to each other, and they need to have like one translator, between them that can say, okay, we're doing this here, and that synergizes with this here, and that's how we're going to get the best outcome.
That's great. And by running the test or by being in the center of everything, which specialists would work best for your particular client.
Correct.
And how do you, how do you get to the underlying issues that that the clients are experiencing? How do you uncover those symptoms that they have?
So there's two primary pathways, like what I call during the discovery phase. Number one is the initial consultation that I do with every client. We do a complete medical history and some genetic history, and we talk goals. That starts to give me a picture of their health over the arc of their life.
Right.
So we try to get the whole story, in that session. And then the rest is data driven. So I do a lot of diagnostics. I work with a, sort of high tech lab here, and we do advanced metabolomics, microbiome mapping, DNA telomere testing. I mean, anything that seems relevant for the client, that can then help us in forming a strategy, but also a theory on what's happening, right? Finding the root cause is a little bit of like, detective work sometimes.
Right.
And so it's like crossing things off and until you really find, okay, there's only so many cofactors left. We kind of dial in on those. And then when we make an adjustment, whether it's, nutritional or lifestyle, nervous system and nervous system reconditioning, that's a foundational, pillar of my work, is helping people to understand their autonomic nervous system and the state that it's in. That just, it bears fruit almost every time now.
That's incredible because I didn't realize how impactful your day-to-day is, your stress level, your nervous system, and what's going on both physically and emotionally in your life can have such a detrimental effect on your health.
Absolutely.
I guess I would ask you, in your experience, what factors does grief or trauma affect on what kind of effect does it have on your physical health?
Yeah. It's interesting. You were saying before how the body is communicating with us all the time, and it is. I mean, I call it signals, right? The body's giving us signals, and it's like red flag, green flag. It's telling us like the pace we need to move at life, the inputs that we might need, whether it's, nutritionally or exercise, and perhaps in a lot of cases for especially us here in the U.S., rest and understanding how to rest and recover. When it comes to, trauma and, PTSD, and really ultimately what we're talking about is nervous system dysregulation, right? You experience, a traumatic event, you lose someone close to you, or, you go through something that was involuntary, right? We didn't ask for it to happen. No, right. And it was negatively perceived by the brain and body. That's what trauma is, right? And it leaves our nervous system in this state of perpetual dysregulation. When I say that, the word dysregulation, what that means is that our nervous system, our autonomic nervous system, is in a persistent sympathetic activation, right? The sympathetic branch of our autonomic nervous system, right? And autonomic just means automatic, right? So it's all of the things that happen in the body without us having to consciously think about doing them, like our heart beating and breathing and digesting. Thank God we don't have to remember to beat our own heart.
That's true.
All those automatic processes, there's two branches of that autonomic system. The sympathetic branch is the one that most people associate with the fight or flight response, right? It's actually 4 responses. It's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, right? All of that is fear, okay? It's whenever we're in fear. And ultimately, like, trauma is an acute response to fear. And because the events were involuntary, right? They happened without our consent in a lot of cases. It leaves the body in a state of uncertainty. And so perpetual sympathetic activation. You're always looking for the next threat because you don't know when something traumatic might happen again. That's what's happening in the
It's crazy because Lord knows I've seen my fair share of grief and trauma, and I've learned to recognize my body's reaction to it, and the feelings that I get, and it's almost like a void within my solar plex, if you will. My instant reaction is to fill that void with whatever, whether it's good stuff or bad stuff, and that's would be my
coping.
Yeah, my coping mechanism, exactly. Yeah. How would you, suggest someone maybe reduce their stress level when they're feeling so overwhelmed, and how do they fill that void?
Yeah, I mean, there's some real basics to what's called self-regulation. Okay, regulating this autonomic branch, these 2 branches of the autonomic nervous system. The goal is to achieve a default state of the parasympathetic branch, right? So besides sympathy, that's fear, that's fight, flight, freeze, fawn. The other branch is the parasympathetic branch, right? That we call, we associate with rest, digest, and being in a state of calm. It's when we feel safe, right? We want to drive the body. We want to exercise this branch as often as we can so that it becomes our default state, right? Wow. And this is particularly important for anyone who's experienced a trauma and is dealing with, perhaps post-traumatic stress or stress in general, right? So, and this is true, by the way, for all people, all ages, at any time in life, right? I work with, with young people, young children, teenagers, your 80-year-old grandmother. We all need to be more regulated, or ideally would be more regulated. And so a few things that you can do, on a daily basis. Number one is breath work. The body responds to our breath. And it does that because you can think of the mind and the body as having like two different languages, right? Our brain responds to our thoughts, right? To language, to certain forms of, external sensory stimulus. The body has a totally different language. And this is why we can't think our way out of stress, right? We can't think our way out of this dysregulation. Yes. I kind of joke sometimes, but it's like, what's the worst thing I could ever say to my wife when she's stressed is relax, right?
Yes.
I'm going to get just about the opposite response of relaxed from her if I do that. And it's because it's this disconnect between the language of the mind and the language of the body, okay? Right. One of those languages is our breath. And it's very responsive to the breath because of the connection with our autonomic nervous system, right? That's the system that's modulating our breathing, right? It's doing it automatically. And so if you intentionally, right, with focus, shift your breathing pattern, you're going to have an impact on the state of the autonomic nervous system.
Yes. Okay? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So breathing, right? And we can go through some breath patterns, but that's first and foremost. And the reason I've referenced that one first is because, number one, it's simple, right? You don't need any equipment. You don't need any fancy devices. You don't have to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars in a spa or whatever retreat. You can just sit anywhere and breathe.
Yes.
It works unlimitedly, right? You will never become desensitized to breathing, and your body responds to it in real time rapidly.
Right.
And so it's fantastic for real-time nervous system regulation. Okay, so the breath. The second is our vision. And one of the techniques that I work with clients or I coach them through is what's called peripheral viewing or horizon viewing. It's called horizon viewing because ideally, you'd be looking out over a horizon. So you'd like walk out to the beach or you're up on a high mountaintop, you can see across the plains. As we engage our peripheral vision or horizon viewing, this also sends a signal, right? So when we talk about language, this is the language, right, that the body's responding to. And stimulating that parasympathetic branch again, okay?
Interesting.
And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? When you're under stress, when you're under threat, our vision narrows, right? And it's because we have to track the threat from then on, right?
Interesting.
And so whenever you're stressed, and you can pick up with this, the next time, hopefully you're never stressed again in life, but the next time you're sitting in 95 traffic and you're stressed out, pay attention to your vision. See where you're looking. I guarantee you've picked a point and you are dialed in on that point without even realizing. You might have, a whirlwind of thoughts happening,
right,
but your vision is locked in.
Interesting.
And so what you want to do is expand your vision, right? So on average, we have about 270 degrees of peripheral view. You sit looking forward, and you just expand your vision into your periphery, right? We can be doing it now. We can be doing it while you're talking. Certainly could be doing that in traffic when you're stressed out.
Yes.
I work with clients that, executives and, high performers that are under a lot of stress all the time. They're doing presentations and, board meetings and pitches or whatever. They will stay in a state of peripheral viewing throughout in order to stay downregulated and not get anxious,
because
nervous.
it can be very stressful when you're doing presentations, especially in front of large numbers of people.
Indeed.
And I remember back in my past life when I was a financial advisor, I used to do presentations on just about investing and trying to teach people. And it was nerve-wracking. It really was. But I would just, you're right, I would get that tunnel vision, though. I would just focus on one person. And as long as they were alert and with me, I was okay. But I like that idea of using your peripheral.
Yeah.
And the breathing is, I find the breathing really helpful when I'm stressed. I start every day just doing 5 or 10 minutes of a meditative state and breathing. And I find that by doing that, it regulates me. It sets me up for the whole day.
That's right.
And, and keeps me calm. But I'd also want to talk to you about nutrition, because I also find that what I put into my body has a big impact on how my body reacts to certain things. So when I was in the throes of all my hives and things, the more junk or bad stuff that I would put in my body, my body couldn't regulate itself. It couldn't get through the hives, and it would just compound everything. So what impact does nutrition have on us?
In my opinion, the biggest one. We're talking, this is, food, nutrition is the fuel for our systems of systems, right? And so if you are depleted, deficient, or imbalanced in some macro or micronutrient, for sure you're going to have either reduced function or dysfunction, right? It will eventually downstream lead to it. And so food, we talk about signals. Food is like data for the body, okay? And in fact, with your history, I think you're more aware of how much data is in, a piece of, strawberry or, a piece of chicken, and what it can do to the body, what it's signaling to the body, what it's, how it's being ingested, and then how it gets expressed. I think is people that have, autoimmune deficiencies, issues there, mental health issues. It's amazing over the years. And this was where my research really began, and also where I found the most answers was in nutritional therapy and food-based medicine, over and over again. And
Really?
I found my answers in food and in food-based therapies.
I find that you get such a wide spectrum of what is considered a healthy nutritional plan versus, unhealthy. I remember, I always struggled with weight. So I would, go on from one diet to the next, drinking just lemon water and soups to, no carbs to only steak. And it was just, it's ridiculous. What's your take on that?
Look, it's like, every now and again we get these trends, right? Whether it's, it's keto or carnivore or paleo or whatever, it might be. The fact of the matter is the human body hasn't changed that much in the past, tens of thousands of years. The inputs are basically the same. We need macronutrients. We need protein, fats, carbohydrates. We need them in an ideal balance, right? So not too much of any, right? And we need micronutrients. And I think, I think it's the micronutrients. We haven't hit this trend yet, but my prediction is that it's coming. It's the understanding of the content of the food.
Yeah.
Right? And then we can start to say, okay, is this food giving me the constituent elements that my body needs right now or today or in general? Right? To fight disease, to function at a high level, to thrive.
Yes.
Right? I think this is going to be the next, big aha moment for health and wellness and sort of this whole field is the nutrients in food, just put simply.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I find when I go to Europe and I eat, and I eat well.
Oh yeah.
I even though, yes, I'm walking a lot, I'm doing things, but I come back and I think I'm going to weigh 10 pounds more than when I left. I don't. I'm usually even lighter than when I left, and I find that fascinating. And I do believe it's the nutrients within the food.
Absolutely.
And
the quality of the food.
The quality, yes.
Just staying more active, throughout the day. We're very sedentary here, whether we're working or driving or whatever. It's just, we don't walk as much as Europeans tend to. And, walking, man, what a powerful, what do you want to call it? It's not even a protocol. What a powerful thing to do on a daily basis is just walk. Again, the downstream benefits of something like walking after every meal are, improved blood sugar regulation, improved metabolism, digestion, mood balance, sleep. I mean, you're hitting the top
Everything.
5, most impactful pillars just by going for a 5 or 10 minute walk after a meal.
Incredible, right?
Yeah.
It's just, and I also think there's not as many preservatives that are found in the foods, and I believe that has a huge impact on us and on our nutrition and just on our mental health as well.
Absolutely. Food quality is, it's a big topic. I definitely have not found a solution for this one. Worked on it a lot, actually, when I was at NYU, was food scarcity and food access. And then, of course, proper cultivating of foods. But yeah,
it's
we need a hard look at how we're
really
doing things, because we are poisoning ourselves. We're poisoning, our children, and so, whole food diet, organic foods, this is important, but it should be ubiquitous.
Yeah, it should. It really. And, when we talk about family and we talk about the impact of our ancestors and what we carry forward. And I mentioned that my daughter was an anthropology major in undergraduate.
Like-minded.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you think about the history of human health, and what stands out to you?
Oh boy. I mean, that's a question and a half, in that there's so much, for the audience, and my background from NYU was in my initial research topic was medical anthropology, right? So sort of history of medicine with a focus on nutrition, but really I looked at as far back in human history as there's record for how humans approached healthcare, well-being.
Wow, that's fascinating.
It really is. It was a tremendous rabbit hole to go down. It was the most lifelong of rabbit holes that I'm still on. I'm still going down.
I find this fascinating.
What I mean? And it's when you start to understand food history, right? How humans interact with food, how we cultivated it. It actually starts to enlighten in how we got here, right? The direction of politics and wars and, you name it, religions, right? We're all built on food to some degree. And so I think that really hit home for me, especially in my studies, was like, wow, food is driving our behavior. Whether it's, an overabundance of food leading to, civilization, or, a scarcity of food leading to vast migrations of humans, which it has throughout human history. Wars are fought over it, inter-community disputes happen over it.
Yes.
It really shapes things. And then a lot of our identity is shaped by the foods that we eat, foods that we cook, the culture that we grew up in. And so to me, food is very central to the human condition, the human experience, and how we got here.
It's really just to think about it. Even if you go back to like the Last Supper, again, it's all about the food.
Breaking bread.
What our ancestors bring. Are there habits that our ancestors had that, of course, we've lost over the years that could actually be more beneficial?
Yeah. Another great question. I think the first one that comes to mind actually is, so there is a long history of what we call now intermittent fasting and fasting.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's big. Yeah.
It's a big thing throughout all of human history, normally attached to some religious activity, right? But it was done both in service to that faith, but also because they had identified the biological benefit of doing it. That they seemed, they performed better, they lived longer, and in general had a better relationship with food when they incorporated either some form of caloric restriction or, fasting full stop.
Interesting.
And I think they did it more often. They did it in a more structured way.
Yeah.
And they understood when and how to incorporate into, into their lives in a way that's more seamless than we do now. Now, we're kind of experimenting with it. They had it down to real science before.
It's really fascinating because my son is very into that. He's very into his diet, but he's also does the intermittent fasting. I'm like, don't you want some breakfast? No, I'm intermittent fasting. And I'm like, okay. And then, you think to the
all the cool kids are doing that.
Yeah, this is true. But the Jewish religion, they did sunset to sunrise, right? They would fast. And then, of course, you talk about the breakfast, or break fast.
Breaking the fast.
Yeah. I find that fascinating. How do you think that, I guess, the nutrition that we absorb in our bodies, I guess there's a sort of rhythm that takes place in our bodies for our bodies to function.
Yes.
And by doing that fasting, I guess it
like recalibrates the body.
Yeah.
And look on the more scientific side of things, the reality is there's so many physiological and biological processes in the body that only happen when we take a digestive break. Okay, when we take a break from always processing food, always metabolizing. When we give ourselves these breaks during, either an intermittent fast or, a longer 24 or 72 hour fast, that's when the body goes into like hyper repair mode. I mean, starting from the gut itself, healing the gut and the lining of the gut. And so when you talk about things like, autoimmune dysfunction, allergens, food sensitivities, all of that is in some way correlated with gut health. When you give yourself that digestive break, now the body has a chance to actually repair, rebuild, and strengthen the gut. And so you're going to see, again, all these upstream and downstream benefits to doing this. But yeah, sorry, did that answer your question?
Yeah, actually,
I don't want to go off on too many tangents.
I find it fascinating. I can listen to this all day because I understand it and I can relate to it. I mean, even now, my sister-in-law, she has a genetic thing where she's got a problem with her heart, and it's not that she doesn't eat healthy, work out. I mean, she does everything right. But the heart is still being clogged in arteries. So they have her now doing all this other blood work testing. But to get back to my question, was what factors do genetics really play in our nutrition and in our health?
Yeah, genetics. What's the best way to put it? It's like there is. So we have a starting code, right? We have a start conditions. And that's our genome, right? That is our body kit. That's why we look the way we do. That's why, I'm 5'10" and not 5'4".
Right.
Right. Brown eyes and black hair, right? That's all in the genome. Then you have what's called the epigenome, right? And so there's this, I would say emerging field, but honestly, it's been around for a long time, but I think it's becoming more mainstream now.
Yeah.
This field of epigenetics and understanding how the body can turn on and off some genes in response to a stimulus, right?
Interesting.
Whether or not it's a environmental stimulus, right? If you're spending more time, in an equatorial area, you might have some genes that switch on. If you're more northern, you have some genes that switch on. If you're doing more exercise, if you're more stressed, and diet, right? So if you're eating more consistently, you're fed, your body is going to potentially elicit an epigenetic change based on these inputs, right? And it's epigenetics that fascinates me. I did a lot of my work in the epigenome because I wanted to know, are these things, lifestyle changes, exercise, reducing stress, more regulated nervous system, are they having a positive impact on our genetic code?
Right.
That could lead to something like, living longer, healthier longer. And the answer is yes. And we keep finding that answer over and over again, that the genome is adaptable in this way, which is a wild thought because we used to think it was completely fixed and that was it. And so there are, in some cases, people that, due to making all of these changes, have affected their genome, and whatever symptom issue they had before is eliminated.
That's amazing.
But I want to I want to balance that in saying some things are genetic and unchangeable right now. Okay. In the next 5 to 10 years, especially with the advent of AI and what we can do now with computer learning, we're very rapidly entering into an era of genetic modification of the human genome.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. I find that so fascinating. It takes me, my husband's a sci-fi,
Oh yeah.
And it takes me into some of those movies. But I mean, right now, where we stand in today's day and age, is it ever too late to improve our health from that standpoint?
Yeah. The answer is no. Right up until our 9th decade of life, we can be growing new neurons and new neural connections, what we call neuroplasticity. So we know you can change the wiring of your brain right up until, the 9th decade of life. Metabolic patterns, body composition, vitality itself, we can all elicit a change at any point in life. It's never too late.
That is so refreshing and so good to hear, because so many of us get stuck. Right. And we're just thinking, it's too late. I've ruined everything. Nothing can change. Yeah. But it can.
It can. And in fact, the beauty of the human body is that we're always building and repairing new cells, right? It's through a process called apoptosis. That process means that every 6-7 years on average, our entire body, right? Bone, organs, your brain, every cell of you is made new.
Incredible.
And so every 7 years or so, you're getting essentially a fresh start, right? And then depending on how you lived or how you plan to live the next 6 or 7 years will determine the state and health of your brain and your body.
If someone was feeling exhausted or discouraged, or just like, they've tried everything, what do you recommend where they begin to?
Where to get started?
Yeah,
I know. It's tough. And look, this is also, if you ask me the question, like, how did I get into this kind of work?
Yeah.
A lot of it was demand. It was people, and interacting with people and hearing their stories about how they felt lost by the healthcare system, or they just had a health issue that, despite all their best efforts and all the best efforts of the doctors around them, weren't able to solve. I think a good starting place is in exercise. Okay, looking at your physical health is a good place to start, because you're going to learn a lot about your body.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not saying the body is simplistic. It's just you get orders of magnitude more complex as you go into the brain and other systems. But one thing you can have a big impact, almost an immediate impact, is on your activity level. And so start there. And then as far as really looking for knowledge base that's out there, we have the internet now.
Yeah.
And I think you seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened. And so, I want to encourage people and hopefully inspire them to, don't stop. And I promise you that journey to finding the answers is going to open up so much awareness and enlightenment and peace of mind and empowerment that the journey will be worth it, right? Whether you end up finding, that the pot of gold or whatever,
right.
you at the end of the rainbow, that path towards, self-discovery and exploration of your health is going to bear so much fruit in your life. So start somewhere and just go.
I think that's wonderful advice. I find even with mental health or physical health, the roles of sleep and your relationships and community all have an impact on your life and on your ability to self-regulate, to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And I guess I would ask you, what impact do you see do these outside factors have on your overall health?
Yeah. Well, number one, they do.
Yeah.
They have something. Maybe the most impactful is community. Okay, and by community, I just mean the people that we surround ourselves with. Friends, family. Our social groups, whether it's a church you're a part of, or faith, or your pickleball club. Okay, these all of those people we can call community. When you are engaged with a healthy community, and I know it's like, okay, healthy, what does that mean? Well, one, where people are encouraging each other to, improve their lives and health and well-being and care for each other, okay?
Yeah.
A place where you can experience kindness and compassion and love and patience, right? That's a healthy community as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
We know now, there have been studies that have been done, that community and our connections or social connections to other people is like 50% of the longevity game.
Wow.
It is maybe the single most powerful determinant of whether or not you're going to live a long and healthy life are your social connections.
That's incredible.
So you can't overstate it. It is hugely important. And so for people that are don't have that, start seeking it out too, because you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find the people that you vibe with, that love and care and are kind and compassionate towards you. Hold on to those people, because you all are going to live a lot longer and healthier being surrounded by each other.
That's so true. I know that you wrote a book too.
I did, yes.
Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called The 3 Aspects of Self. It's fueling the body, mind, and spirit. And I wrote this book. So this is my first book. It was a very long project, over 10 years.
Wow.
I waited a long time because I felt like my work wasn't done yet. Like I hadn't coalesced everything where I could, put it into a book and deliver it in a digestible way for people. But really, this is meant to be like a beginner's manual, right? It's a starting place. So actually, if you're asking where should someone start?
Yeah.
Shamelessly, I'll say start with this book, because it really does give you the basics of how to fuel the body, right? So we talk about nutrition and exercise and nervous system regulation, how to fuel the mind. So we talk about mindset and brain training, and how to understand our thoughts and the voices in our head, right? And to steer the mind, towards the mindset and perception of reality that we would all want. And then the spirit. And it's interesting, in my practice, in the beginning, I was very much focused on the body, right? It was like pure medicine, pure science. And then, over the years, maybe 4 or 5 years into practice, I started to really pick up on a persistent pattern that 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 of the people that were coming to me, the reason why their health had diminished was due to some life event.
Yeah.
Right. It was a loss, loss of job or career, of a family member, or, a spouse, a divorce, whatever.
Yes.
That precipitated this decline. And so if I wasn't working on the mind of the person, then I was missing a big piece of the picture. I mean, at least a third of it. Right. And so I started working on the mind. And then I would notice, and then after that, maybe the next 5, 6 years after that, I started noticing another pattern that you might have an individual who's, sort of bodily healthy, mentally healthy, but something was still missing. And it was that like fire and vitality for life.
Yes.
And that's when I understood. I sort of had an aha moment. I was speaking with a mentor of mine,
Right.
and had an epiphany during that conversation that I missed the spirit,
Yeah.
the human spirit.
Yeah.
And I liken it to people. Whether you're secular or not, it doesn't matter. We all have a spirit.
Yes.
I liken it to like the Olympic spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like this drive to like overcome every challenge, every obstacle in life, to be your best self and perform at a high level. Right.
Wow.
Doing what you love.
Yeah.
That's the spirit. And so I started engaging in spiritual practice and fueling the spirit.
Wow.
And developed a methodology that then, I could share with everyone. Distilled that into this book.
Wow.
And so it is, like I said, it's like a beginner's manual in how to get started on this
What's
journey.
the name of the book?
The 3 aspects of self.
The 3 aspects of self. Okay.
Yeah, fueling the body, mind, and spirit.
I'm going to get that. I can get that on Amazon.
You can get that on Amazon. Yeah. Or my website, lifescienceperformance.com. It's available there too.
Awesome. Oh, I'm going to look for that one.
Yeah.
At this time of usually I like to do something fun and do a little lightning round and just quick, short question answers. Do you prefer coffee or tea?
I would say I prefer tea, but I enjoy coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is your favorite healthy indulgence?
Oh, healthy indulgence. Is there such a thing? No. I'm a simple guy. I love burgers. You know what I mean? I love fries, burger and a
That's
fry.
awesome.
That's it.
What's your favorite way to recharge?
Oh, you know what? It's just getting out in nature for me. Like getting into, sure, a hike or that sort of thing, but actually just literally laying out in nature, like doing nothing. And so like this time of the year, I love like going to the beach and just, putting a blanket down, laying out in the sand and letting the sun and the earth recharge the battery.
I love that. That's my happy place too.
Yeah.
What's one daily habit that you'll never give up?
Hydration.
Awesome.
I
That's
mean,
awesome.
for sure. Yeah.
I ask many of my guests this question, but when your grandchildren, or maybe someone you've never met, look back on your life years from now, what do you hope they remember about Christopher Gabriel?
Yeah. I hope they remember the passion and commitment and dedication I had to serving others.
Yeah.
That's what ultimately fuels me and drives me in life is, how can I serve? And so I hope they look back and they see a man that dedicated his life to everyone else.
So many of our listeners are carrying burdens, or they have health issues, or they're just stuck in their life and are simply exhausted. If you could give one message of hope to our listeners, what would you want them to know?
Yeah, I think that stuck feeling that you have is actually information. That's a signal to you to act. Okay, and know that there is a way out. Right, no matter where you are, there is a path, and so like be encouraged, be inspired that as long as you don't give up, okay, you're going to get there. And I know it's hard in the moment, especially because, we have a hard time being present anyway, right? So many of us are either over considering the future and anxious, or over considering the past and depressed.
Yeah.
But if you can just stay in this present moment, right, everything will be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, you can handle right now. And you keep doing that over and over and over again, and you've been on a journey, and the end of that journey will be a good one.
What a beautiful way to say that. You just, thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and sharing your heart. I'm definitely going to take a lot away from our conversation today. And one of the main things I found is that even genetically, It's never too late to change. It's never too late to begin again. I usually close all my shows with a poem from my late son, Scott. And today I chose a poem called Breaking Free. And it says, my life be a spiral of up and down messages. 1 minute I'm hot and the next minute I'm not. Why do people have to wear a label on them, on their heads saying I'm cute or I'm a thought? Those messages on our heads confine us to a state of mind that can't be changed till you go outside the social construct of life that locks up this beautiful side of our lives. People say to be cute or quote unquote fly, but why try to be something that's a lie? Why can't the word perfect be redefined into terms that make sense to everyone of any size, like amazing, beautiful, smart, but on the inside, not out? I personally believe that if us people came together and started to retaliatize our ever-changing lives, we could destroy the walls that confine us in our own demise. We would find that being our one self is better than looking top shelf. We can be the new era where happiness is the goal, not money or fame, because a wise man once said, the people with the happiest lives have the best lives. So why can't everyone just live their best life and dive headfirst into a world full of surprise?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it just, he surmises things in a way that any 15 or 16-year-olds just, they have that ability. And
That's amazing.
It brings home for me just a lot of what we focus on and what's important in life. And as you had said, community. Community is everything. And to our S.O.S. community, thank you so much for joining us today. I encourage you to reach out and get Christopher's book. He is so amazing and a wealth of knowledge. And if our audience wants to reach out to you, do you have a website they could look at?
Oh, yeah. So that you can reach me if I'm in lifescienceperformance.com or in all the social channels, TikTok, Instagram, etc., at Christopher Gabriel Health.
Thank you. And remember, healing is possible. And it's never too late to begin. This is S.O.S. Stories of Survivors, where survival sparks the soul.